I want to introduce you all to our next guest, Teresa Martin. Teresa is a women's health and hospice nurse, associate therapist, and author of poetry and prose. She gives what she has, just her story. And Teresa is dedicated to the experiences of women, their health, and how their stories transform the world. So please show your support again as we welcome Teresa to the screen.
Thank you so much, Teresa, for reading that. I'm going to give you an applause. So for the folks who don't know, my name is Sabrina. I also am here with MHASF, and I actually asked Teresa to be a part of our event because I know Teresa from my life, and so I wanted to help facilitate this little Q&A portion because Teresa is a dear friend of mine. So my first question for you, Teresa, is why did you choose this poem to read for our event?
Well, I chose this poem because I wanted something to go along with your theme. And if I understood your theme, it's really about looking at systems. And maybe there's some systems out there that aren't really working towards our best mental health. And this poem really is about tackling a system that was not working towards either the prodigal son or the sister's health or mental health. And then the second part of your conversations tonight are not just about identifying those systems, but it's really about asking, how can we reimagine them? Is there something that we could do or think or enact that would help us reimagine these systems? And while this poem doesn't offer a solution, it does offer the hope that the sister takes a look around and says, no, not for me. I think that this isn't going to work. It clearly didn't work for my prodigal son. I don't think it's going to work for me. So I think I'm going to roll out and try something different. So that's why I chose this poem for tonight's reading.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for sharing it with us. So I know Mary read your introduction before, and it's like hospice nurse, therapist, and now also poet. Like what? Like such a diverse range. And I wanted to know, can you tell us a little bit more about your background, but also how you use this writing process in your professional life?
Well, I am a nurse and I am a therapist. And like everyone on the front lines, this last year's been tough, really tough. And so this idea of self-care that can be purchased, honestly, it just really doesn't work. I appreciate when well-intentioned community members send us Starbucks over to the hospital, that's great. But really what I needed was something deeper, more meaningful for me to really get my hands around what we were all facing this year. And crazy as it sounds, creating something was where I found the deepest understanding of my own mental health and what I could do to feel better and feel better in a really real way so that I could show up for my patients in a really real way. And I had never explored poetry before, but because every word counts, it really helps me bring my thinking and my feelings down to its bare bones. And every time I go back and rewrite the poem or rewrite the prose, it helps me get deeper and deeper into what am I thinking? What am I feeling? Where are the solutions here? Where can I achieve better mental health around this issue? So it's been a very powerful instrument of my own healing this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it to me, it also reminds us that like there is no one person with some professional background that gets to be a writer or an artist or gets to express themselves. And so for you to take on that journey and to find healing like within your own life as like a nurse on the front lines, and then to like have this beautiful transformation in your work, it's just really inspiring to me as someone who's like, oh, sometimes I wonder if I can XYZ. And it's like, well, Teresa did it. Why can't I? But my other question for you was, you were talking about this transformation process, and I just wanted to know, what does this poem mean to you? What is the meaning of this prodigal son poem for you?
So there's a lot of different layers to this poem. The superficial layer is really about gender inequity, right? I think we can all see that pretty clearly. But it's also about where that gender inequity comes from. I obviously start with prodigal son, which is a biblical reference. I also bring in Peter Pan and Wendy in Neverland, which is a children's story reference. And then I clearly talk about this idea of walking away from a family and from a system or a cultural system in which it was also promoting gender inequity. So it was a poem that really helped me understand how different systems work together, not necessarily to conspire, but certainly work together synergistically to offer up solutions that don't always work. And that as an individual, I can really look at it in that regard and know that it's not one person is holding me back, but that maybe there's multiple systems that are working synergistically. And I will say that the reason the poem means so much to me personally is because the prodigal son himself actually gave me the most sage advice I've ever had from anyone. And he and I talked a little bit about this inequity, obviously, because he's my brother. And I was the one being held back. And he said, T, nobody's holding you back. The only thing that's holding you back from walking out that door is you. And that changed a lot of things for me.
Yeah. Teresa, thank you so much for sharing that with us. I would love for folks to know a little bit more about what's upcoming for you in this year. If people are excited to maybe read your work, what would that look like? Where can they find you?
Yeah, Teresa Martin Inc., Inc. with a K.com. It is going to show you that I have a book that's already been published by the American Psychological Association, and that my upcoming book is coming out this early summer from Brawler Books. And that will be a collection of poetry and prose dedicated really to my own health and wellness. And hopefully it will allow other people to hear my story in a way where they can relate to it and really start uncovering through their creative processes some of their own health and wellness. And then in the fall, I plan on releasing another book that's about caregiving, women cross-generationally taking care of other women, and how that is our strength and our power. And then next year, I will be doing a book, hopefully, if I can get it together, in Kathmandu on the Kung Fu nuns, who are my sisters from another mother somewhere in Nepal, who are doing some really radical work on helping other women achieve their health and wellness.
Oh, well, that's so exciting. I will make sure to put your website in the chat for folks who are interested. And we have just a few more minutes, and I just wanted to offer, if there was anything else, any other parting words that you had. I know we'll have you stick around to the Q&A, but is there anything else that's kind of like on your mind that you'd like to share with us?
Well, I really appreciated both the introductions and Eva talking to us a little bit about how to think through our mental health in a new way and what that means in terms of self-care, because I see it every day as a nurse and as a therapist. You know, we want to go grab that pedi and think it's going to work, or a manicure. And it sometimes that's great for 5 or 10 minutes, and our nails look good for probably about 3 weeks. But really engaging in the creative process, whether it's coloring, drawing, cooking, sewing, sculpting, whatever your jam is, that's really been critical for me. And I really hope that I can inspire, especially other people who are out there on the front lines every day, to engage in, you know, pick up the guitar out in the garage, throw down some Play-Doh with your kids, whatever it is, to really try to think through how we're managing all this stuff that's coming at us this year.
Absolutely. Well, you're a delight, a treasure, and we are our experiences are all richer for hearing your words.